If you suddenly woke up tomorrow with a massive, life-changing increase in your income, what is the very first thing you would buy to prove to the world and yourself that you have finally made it?
Oh man, it is such a dangerous little daydream, isn't it?
It really is.
Because, the mind just does not go to index funds. It goes straight to the visceral, physical evidence of success.
Exactly. I want you, listening right now, to actually picture it. Put yourself in that exact scenario.
Mm-hmm.
You open up your banking app, and the number sitting there isn't just a little bigger. It is staggering.
Right.
Maybe you sold a business, maybe you hit a massive liquidity event, or, I don't know, maybe you landed a promotion that completely shifts your tax bracket. You have real, undeniable wealth.
The kind of wealth everyone dreams about.
Yeah. So what is the very first physical manifestation of that success you go after? Are you heading straight to the dealership to custom order a European sports car?
Oh, totally. A lot of people would.
Or, are you immediately opening Zillow to look at sprawling estates in that one ultra-exclusive zip code you have always driven past?
Or the watch. The luxury watch that costs more than what the average person makes in a decade.
Yes. Tap into that daydream for a second.
Yeah.
Feel that rush of validation, that feeling of, look at me now.
It is practically hardwired into our culture to want that visible validation. I mean, we are social creatures, so we use physical objects to signal our place in the hierarchy.
We do. But I am going to ask you to hold on to that feeling because we are about to completely tear it apart.
We really are.
Stay till the end, because the answer to this question might completely change how you think about it.
Yeah.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we are unpacking a mission that might just turn your entire understanding of money, success, and how you structure your daily life completely upside down.
It is a big one today.
It is. We are diving deep into the rigorous research and data found in a landmark book, The Millionaire Mind, by Dr. Thomas J. Stanley.
And we really need to clarify right out of the gate that this is not a collection of motivational platitudes from some self-proclaimed financial guru.
Right. Definitely not.
Dr. Stanley spent his entire career conducting massive, comprehensive, data-driven surveys of America's affluent populations. I mean, he looked at the balance sheets, the tax returns, the psychological profiles.
He brought receipts.
Exactly. He separated the actual math from the cultural drama.
Which is incredibly necessary because the data reveals a truth that is, frankly, a little unsettling. When you dig into his numbers, it turns out that almost everything the media, Hollywood, and our own society tells us about how wealthy people live is just completely backwards.
Completely backwards. It is a brilliantly constructed, highly profitable illusion, and it is an illusion that relies on us confusing two very different concepts.
Which are?
Spending money and having money.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And the scary part is the collateral damage of that illusion. Because of this societal narrative, most people are unknowingly making critical, life-altering mistakes with their money, their careers, and their stress levels.
They really are. They are chasing what Stanley calls a pseudo-affluent lifestyle.
Pseudo-affluent. I love that term.
Right. They genuinely think they are on the path to wealth, when in reality they are sprinting at top speed in the exact opposite direction.
It creates this very real feeling of, wait, am I doing this wrong? Without even realizing it.
Yeah, you start looking at your own daily habits. The car you drive, the neighborhood you stretch your budget to live in, your assumptions about what success is supposed to look like.
And you realize how heavily influenced you have been by a script that simply isn't true for the vast majority of actual self-made wealthy individuals.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the mechanics of the millionaire mind, we first have to understand the trap that catches almost everyone else. We need to dissect the illusion.
Now, this is where things get surprising. We have to introduce a fundamental distinction that Stanley makes, and it's the dividing line between two very different types of affluent people.
Okay.
He categorizes them as the income statement affluent and the balance sheet affluent.
Let's bring those terms out of the accounting textbook and into the real world. Let's look at two archetypes drawn directly from the research. Let's call them Oakes and O'Toole.
Perfect. Let's start with Oakes.
Imagine Oakes. Oakes is a highly specialized, high-earning attorney. He is bringing in a massive salary, the kind of top-tier money that most people dream of.
The big bucks.
Yeah. But if you zoom in on the actual mechanics of his life, it is a pressure cooker.
Oh, totally.
He lives in an enormous, visually stunning mansion in the most exclusive, gated neighborhood in the city. To get that house, he took on an astronomical mortgage. He drives a brand new, top-of-the-line luxury sedan, which is leased. He wears bespoke Italian suits. His kids are enrolled in the city's most expensive private schools, and he maintains a membership at the prestige country club where all the other partners at his firm socialize.
Right. So from the outside looking in, Oakes is the absolute pinnacle of success. He is exactly what society tells us a rich person looks like. His outward signaling is flawless.
But hold on, let's look at the inside. Let's look at the math.
Yeah, let's look at the numbers.
If Oakes is making, say, $800,000 a year, even after taking out top-tier taxes, a massive mortgage, the private school tuition, the club dues, and the car leases, isn't he still clearing a substantial amount of disposable income?
You would think so.
Right. I mean, how is he genuinely struggling?
Well, that is the exact trap of the income statement affluent. You are looking at his gross income, but you aren't accounting for his structural burn rate.
Structural burn rate. Explain that.
Once Oakes pays federal, state, and local taxes on that $800,000, his take-home is significantly reduced right off the bat.
Sure.
Then the fixed costs of that highly leveraged lifestyle kick in. The mortgage isn't just the principal and interest.
Right, there's always more.
It is the aggressive property taxes of that exclusive zip code, the inflated insurance, the mandatory HOA fees, the commercial landscaping required to maintain the massive property.
Oh, man.
Then add the private school tuitions, the country club initiation fees and monthly minimums, the leases on 2 luxury vehicles, the high-end vacations required to keep up appearances with his peers.
It just never ends.
It doesn't. By the end of the month, Oakes's entire massive paycheck is devoured by the infrastructure of his lifestyle. He is highly leveraged. He has almost zero liquid accumulated wealth.
So he is essentially living paycheck to paycheck, just at a much higher altitude.
Exactly. He is one bad quarter, one lost major client, or one medical emergency away from total financial disaster.
Wow.
He is a prisoner to his own image. His income statement looks incredible, but his balance sheet, his actual net worth, is terrifyingly fragile.
It's like being on a treadmill. You know,
Right.
you get a raise, so you crank up the speed by buying a nicer car and a bigger house, but you're sweating just as hard, and you haven't actually moved forward an inch.
That is a perfect analogy. You were just running faster to stay in the exact same place.
It's like software bloat on a computer.
Oh, yeah.
You know how you get a computer with a massive new processor and tons of RAM? That's Oakes getting a huge salary increase. But instead of the computer running faster, you immediately install 20 massive, heavy background applications that run 24/7.
Yes, exactly.
The mortgage, the cars, the club, the status symbols. Suddenly, despite having this incredibly powerful processor, the system is sluggish, the fan is screaming, and it's constantly on the verge of crashing. That is the income statement affluent. High income, zero margin for error.
That's a highly accurate way to look at it. The background applications are draining all the resources. Now, contrast that fragile ecosystem with our second archetype, O'Toole.
Okay, let's look at O'Toole.
O'Toole is a small business owner. He runs a successful but frankly unglamorous business, maybe a regional logistics company or a chain of dry cleaners.
Not exactly cocktail party bragging material.
Right. He earns a very good living, maybe $150,000 to $200,000 a year, but it is nowhere near the astronomical, jaw-dropping salary of Oakes the attorney.
But O'Toole's life looks entirely different.
Completely different.
He lives in a modest, well-built, unassuming home in a middle-class, well-established neighborhood. He drives a reliable 5-year-old domestic truck that he bought slightly used and owns outright.
No lease payments there.
Nope. He and his spouse actively manage a very frugal, highly efficient household. They have absolutely no interest in country club memberships, and they couldn't care less about the logo on their clothing.
And because their background applications are so minimal, the difference in their mental state is night and day.
I can imagine.
O'Toole sleeps incredibly well. His home is either paid off or carries a very small, easily manageable mortgage. He has zero consumer debt. His bank accounts have thick cash reserves, and his investments are quietly compounding year after year. He possesses a profound, deep-seated peace. He is the balance sheet affluent, high net worth, regardless of the income level.
What's fascinating here is the psychological divide between these two states of being. We are talking about true millionaires here.
Yes?
And Stanley's data points out a crucial detail. The vast majority of the millionaires in this study are first generation.
That is such an important point.
They inherited absolutely nothing. They started from economic ground zero. And because of that, their entire psychological focus is on accumulating wealth, not displaying it.
Yes. They understand a fundamental mechanical truth about money. Every dollar spent on a depreciating status symbol is a dollar that cannot be deployed to buy your own freedom.
I see that, however. Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Word for it.
If Oakes is working 80 hours a week in a high-stress corporate law firm, doesn't he deserve to enjoy his money? Isn't the whole point of making 800 grand a year to drive the nice car and live in the nice house?
People always say that.
Right. If you just hoard it all like O'Toole, aren't you just being the richest guy in the graveyard?
It's a very common pushback, but it misinterprets what Oakes is actually buying. Oakes isn't buying enjoyment. He is buying a gilded cage.
A gilded cage.
Every time you upgrade your lifestyle on credit, every time you take on a massive fixed cost to project an image of success, you are making a very specific, binding trade.
Which is?
The true millionaire mind recognizes that being a credit junkie, which is Stanley's term for someone who relies on debt to fund a pseudo-affluent lifestyle, means you are literally handing over the deed to your own autonomy.
Wow. Handing over the deed to your own autonomy.
You are giving the mortgage lender, the credit card company, and the auto finance corporation the power to dictate exactly how hard you have to work, what kind of stress you have to endure, and when you are allowed to retire. You lose the ability to say no.
You're selling your future time, your future choices, to pay for a present image.
Precisely. You become an indentured servant to your own possessions.
That is a harsh reality.
It is. The balance sheet affluent, the O'Tooles of the world, categorically refuse to make that trade. They don't view frugality as deprivation. They view it as defense.
Defense?
Yeah. They value their autonomy, their options, and their freedom far more than they value the fleeting, hollow validation of driving a status symbol to impress people at a stoplight.
So if you're listening to this right now, think about your own daily life and your own internal mechanisms. Think about the last time you got a bonus, a substantial raise, or, a decent tax refund.
Yeah, what did you do with it?
What was your immediate visceral instinct? Was it to expand your lifestyle, to swallow that new money, to finally finance that luxury item you've been eyeing?
Most people do.
Or was your instinct to buy your own freedom? Because you have to realize that every single dollar you save and invest, instead of spending it on visible status, is a tiny fraction of your own autonomy that you are buying back from the world.
Exactly.
It's a shift from viewing money as a mechanism to acquire things, to viewing money as a mechanism to acquire options.
It is the ultimate paradigm shift. Money is stored energy. You can either burn that energy to create a flashy explosion of status, or you can capture that energy to power your own independence.
But here's the interesting part. The millionaire mind isn't just defined by how they allocate their capital. It's also deeply defined by who these people actually are.
That is so true.
Because to really understand this data, we need to dismantle another massive, deeply ingrained myth.
And this is perhaps one of the most pervasive, comforting myths in our entire modern culture, the myth of the elite genius.
Yes. We have this collective, unquestioned assumption that to become a self-made millionaire, you must have been the absolute smartest person in the room from day one.
The smartest kid in class.
You must be the valedictorian, you must have a Mensa-level IQ, you must have sailed into an Ivy League university, scored perfectly on your SATs, and essentially coasted through life on pure, unadulterated intellectual horsepower.
Right.
We imagine these people as human supercomputers who never really experienced intellectual struggle or failure.
It is a very convenient narrative.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's comforting because if immense wealth requires innate, unteachable genetic genius, then those of us without it are entirely off the hook.
Oh, I see.
We can look at the billionaire and say, well, I wasn't born with his brain, so I can't be expected to achieve his net worth. It absolves us of responsibility.
Right. It is an easy out.
Exactly. But when Stanley actually analyzed the academic backgrounds and cognitive profiles of his self-made millionaires, that narrative completely collapsed.
I love this section of the data. Let's talk about what I like to call the C student's revenge.
Oh, it is the best.
Because when you look at the typical self-made millionaire's youth, it does not look like a prep school brochure. In fact, the data reveals that a massive percentage of these individuals were routinely labeled average or even below average by their teachers, by guidance counselors, and by standardized testing.
They just weren't the academic superstars.
Right. They were not the kids destroying the grading curve. They didn't have the highest SAT scores. They were the kids sitting in the middle or the back of the classroom, quietly being told that based on their test scores, they probably wouldn't amount to much in the professional world.
And this is where we see a crucial psychological pivot point. For a lot of people, being told by an authority figure, like a teacher or a counselor, that they are average becomes a permanent self-fulfilling prophecy.
They just accept it.
They internalize that judgment. They lower the ceiling on their own expectations. They accept the label and live within its confines.
But not the millionaire mind.
Hmm.
This is where the mechanics of their psychology really shine. Instead of letting those negative judgments crush them, they weaponize them.
They absolutely did.
They took those criticisms and evaluations and turned them into absolute high-octane fuel. They developed a massive chip on their shoulder, a relentless burning drive to prove the system and those specific critics completely wrong.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the self-reported data is genuinely astonishing. Stanley surveyed these millionaires and gave them a massive list of factors.
What kind of factors?
Everything from luck to inheritance to IQ to university pedigree. And he asked them to rank what actually contributed most to their financial success. Do you know where raw intelligence and academic pedigree landed?
I do. And it absolutely shattered my preconceptions. They were shockingly low on the list. But what was at the absolute top? The number one trait.
92%. 92% of these self-made millionaires attributed their success, above all else, to one specific, highly teachable trait.
Which is
Getting along with people.
getting along with people, not building complex financial models,
Nope.
not writing brilliant disruptive algorithms, not understanding advanced macroeconomics, just being someone that other human beings actually want to be around and interact with.
Exactly.
Wait, though, I have to push back here.
Okay, let's hear it.
We look at the modern economy, especially the tech sector, and it seems full of notoriously difficult, antisocial geniuses who built massive fortunes. You know, the brilliant engineer who yells at his staff, the ruthless CEO. How does that square with this 92% statistic?
You're pointing out extreme survivor bias.
Okay, explain.
Yes. If your raw intellect is literally a 1 in a billion anomaly, if you are the single person on Earth who can write a specific piece of world-changing code, the market might tolerate your terrible social skills.
Because they have to.
Right. But we aren't talking about the 0.0001% anomaly. We are talking about the broad base of self-made millionaires across all industries. The people who own regional plumbing supply companies, the people who build mid-sized accounting firms, the commercial real estate developers.
The everyday millionaire.
Exactly. For the vast majority of wealth builders, business is fundamentally a mechanism of human relationships.
So sure.
The ability to empathize with a client's problem, the ability to lead a team through a crisis without demoralizing them, the ability to negotiate a contract where both sides feel respected, the ability to build genuine trust.
It's the soft skills.
Yes, social skills, personal discipline, unwavering integrity, and having a supportive spouse. The data shows that these factors completely and utterly outrank raw, isolated intellectual horsepower in the actual trenches of wealth accumulation.
It makes total sense when you break down the mechanics of a career.
Yeah.
Think about it like an engine.
Okay, an engine.
If you are an absolute genius, but you are arrogant, condescending, difficult to collaborate with, and untrustworthy, your genius has a very low, hard ceiling.
No one wants to deal with you.
Exactly. Nobody wants to promote you. Nobody wants to partner with you. Nobody wants to give you their capital. Your engine has massive horsepower, but the transmission is broken. It can't translate that power to the wheels.
I like that.
But if you are of completely average intelligence, you aren't going to win a Nobel Prize. Yet you are deeply disciplined, totally honest, you show up early, and people genuinely love working with you. Your potential is limitless.
It really is.
You will build vast networks. You will attract top talent who want to work for a good leader. You will retain loyal clients who trust you. Your engine might not be the biggest, but it is highly tuned and transferring every ounce of power directly to the road.
Furthermore, because these individuals were never handed the genius label, they developed an incredible sense of self-awareness.
How so?
They had to be ruthlessly realistic about their own strengths and weaknesses. Stanley points out that one of the core secrets of the millionaire mind is choosing a vocation that is perfectly aligned with their actual natural aptitudes.
So they play to their strengths.
Right. They don't try to force themselves into a highly prestigious, hyper-competitive career path like neurosurgery or investment banking just because it looks impressive on a resume, especially if they know they don't have the natural cognitive affinity for it.
That takes a lot of ego suppression.
It does. They find the exact niche they are naturally suited for, and they build a highly efficient business around that. They are swimming with the tide of their own nature, not constantly exhausting themselves struggling against it.
That immediately reminds me of the story from the research about the legendary college football coach Paul Bear Bryant. His entire overarching philosophy perfectly mirrors this exact mindset.
It's a brilliant parallel. Bear Bryant famously built championship teams, not necessarily by having the most naturally gifted five-star recruits, but by instilling a philosophy that success is never, ever achieved by taking the path of least resistance.
Right.
The millionaires in this study understood this from a very young age.
Yeah.
Because they weren't the chosen ones academically, because things didn't just come easily to them in the classroom, they accepted early on that they were going to have to outwork, out-hustle, and out-persevere everyone else.
They embrace the grind.
They didn't view difficulty as a sign to quit. They viewed difficulty as the standard operating procedure. They expected the path to be hard. They welcomed the friction.
So take this concept and bring it directly into your own workplace. Think about your office dynamics, your Zoom meetings, your team projects right now. So often we obsess over trying to be the smartest person in the room.
We all do it.
We frantically prep to make sure we have the most brilliant, complex idea in the meeting to show off our technical expertise, to prove we belong. But the Millionaire Mind data tells us we are completely misallocating our energy. It's not about being the smartest person in the meeting. It's about being the person everyone else in that meeting actually wants to work with.
That is the real currency.
It's about your integrity when a project fails. It's about your reliability to hit a deadline. It's about your ability to make your colleagues feel valued rather than diminished. That emotional intelligence and discipline is the actual highly valued currency of long-term success.
Which is a deeply encouraging reality. It effectively democratizes the concept of wealth.
It really does.
It means that true financial independence is not hidden behind the locked gates of a genetic or academic elite. It is entirely accessible to anyone who is willing to put in the reps to cultivate the right character traits, the right social skills, and the right discipline.
And this is something most people ignore, because that level of discipline and that rejection of traditional status doesn't just apply to how they operate in the boardroom or how they build their businesses. It bleeds heavily into how they live their day-to-day lives, especially when they're entirely off the clock.
Ah, yes. We have to examine the infamous, highly misunderstood Millionaire Weekend.
Right, because if you consume any modern media, if you watch television or scroll through social media, a Millionaire's Weekend is a very specific aesthetic.
Oh, absolutely.
It consists of waking up on a chartered yacht in the Mediterranean, drinking vintage champagne for breakfast, taking a private helicopter to an exclusive golf course, and then casually dropping $50,000 at designer boutiques on Rodeo Drive before dinner at a Michelin star restaurant.
The media requires that kind of visual extravagance to make wealth look compelling on a screen. I mean, frugality doesn't make for good reality television.
Nobody wants to watch that.
Right. But Stanley didn't rely on television tropes. He conducted exhaustive 12-month diary studies, tracking the actual hour-by-hour habits of real self-made millionaires. And the reality of their leisure time is almost comically mundane in comparison to the Hollywood myth.
It is the ultimate reality check. Where are these actual verified millionaires on a typical Saturday afternoon?
You might be surprised.
They are not at the yacht club. They are standing in the aisles of Home Depot comparing the prices of mulch.
Of mulch, exactly.
They're grabbing a quick lunch at Burger King or McDonald's. They are actively engaged in their local religious services. They are standing on the freezing, muddy sidelines of their kids' youth soccer games. They are hosting a casual potluck dinner with their extended family in their backyard.
Just normal stuff.
Yeah. They're categorically not spending their weekends dropping thousands of dollars at Saks Fifth Avenue, Brooks Brothers, or luxury car dealerships.
Their leisure activities are remarkably low cost, highly accessible, and deeply focused on community, family, and productive household management. But within that incredibly detailed diary study, tracking thousands of data points, there was one specific revelation that stood out above all others.
Oh, this is the best part.
A statistical anomaly that perfectly encapsulates the millionaire psychology.
The lottery revelation. I love this.
Yes. Of all the hundreds of lifestyle activities, spending habits, and hobbies tracked over that 12-month period, the researchers found the single most significant, glaring, inverse relationship with net worth.
Meaning, the more money they had, the less they did this one thing.
Exactly. The higher a person's actual net worth, the significantly less likely they are to ever, under any circumstances, play the lottery. It is a habit that is practically non-existent among the balance sheet affluent.
Now, wait a minute. Let me pause you there. Why is that? I mean, Obviously, anyone with a calculator knows the mathematical odds of winning the lottery are objectively terrible. But a ticket is $2. For a guy worth $5 million, $2 is microscopic. Is it really just about being so stingy that they refuse to waste $2 on a ticket? Or is it something structurally deeper than the math?
It has almost nothing to do with the $2 and everything to do with their internal psychological wiring. You have to look at the motivation. Why do people who haven't accumulated wealth routinely play the lottery?
To get rich quick, right?
They play it because they feel fundamentally trapped. They are playing for a magical, instantaneous escape from a financial reality that they feel they have no power to change. It is a symptom of a deep lack of financial agency. They are hoping for external salvation.
They're hoping a magic piece of paper with 6 numbers on it will reach down and lift them off the treadmill they are stuck on.
Precisely. But the millionaire mind doesn't need an escape hatch. They don't need external salvation because they have an internal locus of control. They already control their financial destiny.
They built their own life raft.
Yeah. They have meticulously built their own security, brick by brick, through years of disciplined savings, smart investments, and hard work. Relying on sheer astronomical random luck is the exact antithesis of their entire worldview.
It goes against everything they believe in.
They believe deeply in cause and effect. They believe in effort yielding a proportional reward. Playing the lottery is a psychological surrender to random chance, which they fundamentally reject. They don't want luck to dictate their lives. They want to dictate their lives.
They engineer their own luck. And what's wild is that they actually find a deep, almost competitive satisfaction in activities that the pseudo-affluent Oaks character would completely turn his nose up at.
Oh, definitely.
There's this amazing anecdote in the research about a specific woman, let's call her Mrs. Point. Mrs. Point is a verified millionaire. Her family is highly affluent. Her balance sheet is bulletproof.
Right.
But when Mrs. Point wants to update her wardrobe, she absolutely refuses to walk into a luxury boutique and pay full retail price for the latest season's designer fashion. Instead, she genuinely loves the thrill of the hunt.
She goes hunting.
Yeah. She spends her weekends finding pre-owned, high-end designer clothes at consignment shops, thrift stores, or estate sales.
And the most important takeaway from Mrs. Point isn't just the action of shopping at a consignment store. It is her emotional state while doing it.
Yes,
Yeah.
because she doesn't feel deprived. This isn't a story of misery. She isn't doing this because she's forced to by a tight budget or because she's a miserable miser who hates spending money.
She is having a great time.
She feels victorious. To her, the entire consumer ecosystem is a game, and she is winning it. Because she knows the mechanical secret. She takes that $1,000 she saved by refusing to buy the designer jacket at retail, and she immediately redirects that capital into investments that grow.
That is the key.
She gets to wear a beautiful, high-quality, impeccably tailored garment, and her net worth is simultaneously increasing because the difference is compounding in the market.
It's the embodiment of a concept Stanley calls productive household management. The millionaire mind extracts genuine joy from efficiency, value, and stewardship.
Stewardship.
They will happily take a beloved, well-made pair of leather shoes to a local cobbler to be resold and polished for $50 rather than throwing them in a landfill and spending $300 on a new pair.
It's just smart.
They will spend a Saturday in their garage happily sanding down and refinishing a beautiful piece of solid wood vintage furniture rather than walking into a big box store and financing a cheap particle board bedroom set that will fall apart in 3 years.
But I know people listening to this are thinking, well, if you make $1 million a year, sanding your own furniture is a terrible use of your time.
Yeah.
Your time is worth hundreds of dollars an hour. Aren't you just being cheap with your most valuable asset?
It's a logical question, but it misses the psychological benefit. It's not just about saving the $200 on the furniture. It's about the mental grounding, engaging in productive household management, repairing things, maintaining things, working with your hands. It keeps you tethered to reality.
Ah, I see.
It prevents the drift into that insulated, pseudo-affluent bubble where you just throw money at every minor inconvenience. It reinforces the mindset of stewardship. You are taking care of what you have, which is the exact same mindset required to take care of an investment portfolio.
It's a unified theory of how to treat your resources. So bring this back to your own wallet. Think about the very next non-essential purchase you make. Next time you are tempted to swipe a credit card for a brand new, expensive piece of furniture. Maybe something that looks trendy on Instagram but is structurally garbage, just to impress friends who come over for dinner.
Don't do it.
I want you to think of the millionaire, out in their garage on a Saturday afternoon, wearing old jeans, happily sanding down a beautiful, solid oak vintage table they bought at an estate sale for a fraction of the price.
A much better picture.
The millionaire is preserving capital and building an asset. The consumer is depreciating capital and building debt. It's a completely different way of physically moving through the world.
And nowhere is this difference in movement more stark, more obvious, and more financially consequential than in the single biggest purchase most human beings will ever make in their lifetimes.
So what does this all mean? How does all of this philosophy, this frugality, this rejection of status signaling, this relentless focus on the balance sheet actually translate when it comes time to put down roots? Let's talk about the absolute most dangerous hazard on the road to wealth, the house trap.
Real estate is the ultimate final exam of the millionaire mind.
The final exam.
Because in our society, a house has entirely ceased to be just shelter. It has mutated into the ultimate, undeniable status symbol. It is the largest, most visible, most socially recognized indicator of your supposed wealth. You can fake a watch, you can lease a car, but the zip code you sleep in is broadcast to the world.
Which makes it the most lethal trap for the income statement affluent. But let's look at how the true millionaire mind approaches it through the story of an investor highlighted in the research named Brian Abel.
Right, Brian Abel.
Brian is highly successful. His balance sheet is immense. He has the liquid cash and the income to buy almost any house he wants. If he wanted to, he could easily walk into a bank tomorrow, get approved for a massive mortgage, and build a 10,000 square foot, ultra-modern, flashy mansion in the most prominent gated community in the city to ensure every single person in his orbit knows exactly how rich he is.
But he categorically, intentionally refuses to do so.
He absolutely refuses. Instead, Brian's strategy is wildly methodical and completely devoid of ego. He looks for homes in well-established, quiet, appreciating neighborhoods. But here's the key. He buys well below his maximum bank approval limit.
He ignores the bank's limit.
Completely. He doesn't care what the bank says he could afford. He cares what his wealth-building model says he should spend. He negotiates ruthlessly on the purchase price. He lives far below his means, and once he buys the property, he holds on to it long-term. He doesn't get restless and flip it 3 years later just to upgrade to a slightly bigger house with a slightly bigger mortgage.
This raises an important question. Why? Why deny yourself? If you have the money in the bank, if you've worked hard your whole life, why not buy the mansion? Why not enjoy the 10,000 square feet?
Seriously, why not?
It comes back to the core danger we discussed earlier, but amplified to its maximum level. The aerodynamic drag of lifestyle inflation.
Lifestyle inflation.
When you buy the highly leveraged luxury home, you aren't just buying a pile of wood, glass, and brick. You are buying a baseline level of mandatory, inescapable consumption that you are now legally obligated to maintain for the next 30 years.
Right. Because the trap is that it's never just the mortgage. The mortgage is just the cover charge to get into the club.
Exactly. It's the cascading multiplier effect of the house. You buy the $3 million house. Now you have the astronomical property taxes that reassess higher every year.
Oh yeah, those taxes.
You have the massive insurance premiums, you have the baseline maintenance on a property that size, the roof replacements, the HVAC systems, you have the commercial level landscaping just to keep the yard looking like the rest of the neighborhood. The utilities alone to heat and cool 10,000 square feet are a second mortgage.
It's like a small business just keeping the house running.
It is. But even worse is the insidious, unspoken social pressure. When you move into the prestige neighborhood, the gravitational pull of your neighbor's spending habits takes over. You feel the implicit, crushing pressure to drive the right luxury SUV to park in that specific driveway.
You can't park a 5-year-old truck in that driveway.
You feel the pressure to send your kids to the elite private schools that all the neighbors' kids attend. You feel the need to host catered parties, to join the right country clubs, to furnish the house with interior designers.
The house forces you to buy all the accessories.
Exactly. The house acts as a massive financial multiplier for every single other expense in your life. It forces you to crank up the speed on the treadmill, running faster and faster, enduring more and more stress at work, just to avoid the humiliation of losing the house.
While Brian Abel, living in his lovely, comfortable, but highly affordable home, experiences a reality that is completely different. He cultivates a profound, unshakable sense of freedom.
Yes.
Because his baseline housing costs are so incredibly low relative to his massive income, he generates a massive monthly surplus of cash. He isn't lying awake at 3 a.m. stressed about a potential property tax hike.
He's sleeping like a baby.
He isn't sweating a downturn in the economy. He takes that massive surplus cash every single month, and he uses it for things that actually generate value. Ensuring high-quality education for his family, creating meaningful, stress-free family experiences and travel, and crucially, pouring that capital into investments that generate passive income. His house is a solid foundation that supports him. It is not a prison that extracts from him.
And that is the ultimate final secret of the balance sheet affluent. They prioritize financial security, autonomy, and peace of mind over visible displays of wealth. They would rather be wealthy than look wealthy.
You know, it's deeply, deeply ironic, right?
Yeah.
It's the ultimate paradox. The people who actually have the cash, the people who could easily afford the giant, flashy mansions without batting an eye, are the exact ones who intentionally, strategically don't buy them.
It's wild to think about.
Meanwhile, the people who are stretching their budgets to the absolute breaking point, the people who are losing sleep over the mortgage, fighting with their spouses about credit card bills, are the ones trying desperately to look like the millionaires. The people who look the richest often have the weakest balance sheets, and the people who actually possess generational wealth, you would never ever know it just by looking at them in the checkout line at Home Depot.
It is the great paradox of American wealth. We are conditioned to look for wealth in the wrong places. We look at the liabilities and assume they are assets.
So if you're listening to this right now, and you find yourself at a financial crossroads, maybe you're house hunting this very weekend, maybe you're considering a major purchase, thinking about stretching your budget to its absolute limit just to get into that specific zip code, or to buy that specific car, to keep up with the Joneses, or prove to your peers that you are successful.
Stop.
You need to stop and set hard boundaries for yourself. Remind yourself of the data. True wealth is invisible. The wealth isn't the giant house you can see from the street. The wealth is the massive pile of money you didn't spend on the house.
Exactly.
The wealth is the seven-figure investment portfolio that nobody can see. The wealth is the fact that Brian Abel can sleep soundly for 8 uninterrupted hours a night without ever worrying about his creditors or the economy or losing his job.
The ultimate luxury isn't a European sports car. The ultimate luxury is the ability to walk away from a toxic job, the ability to weather a severe economic storm without a drop of panic, the ability to dictate how you spend your Tuesday morning. That is the true, unadulterated freedom that the Millionaire Mind is purchasing with their frugality.
It changes everything. It really completely rewires how you view success. So let's retrace our steps here. Let's gradually loop back to where we started this entire conversation. We went on quite a journey today, dismantling a lot of cultural programming.
We really did. We uncovered the dangerous illusion of the income statement affluent, the oaks of the world, trapped on the high-earning, high-spending treadmill, suffocating under the aerodynamic drag of our own lifestyle, looking incredibly rich but feeling terrifyingly broke.
We completely shattered the myth of the elite genius, realizing that you do not need to be the smartest person in the room to build massive generational wealth. You don't need the Ivy League degree. You just need to be deeply disciplined, wildly resilient, and most importantly, be someone that other people actually want to work with. We saw how using the doubts of your critics as fuel is a literal superpower.
We peeked behind the curtain into the surprisingly normal, radically frugal weekend of the self-made millionaire, finding out that they are at Burger King, they are avoiding the lottery like the plague because they demand control over their lives, and they are finding genuine, compounding joy in restoring a vintage piece of furniture or wearing a pre-owned jacket.
And finally, we exposed the ultimate hazard, the house trap. Realizing that buying the biggest, flashiest house the bank says you can qualify for is the absolute fastest, most efficient way to surrender your freedom to an institution.
Every single one of these data points, every single behavior points to a singular, unifying philosophy of life.
Which brings us right back to that exact question I asked you at the very beginning of this deep dive. Put yourself back in that daydream.
Here we go.
If you suddenly got a massive increase in income, a huge windfall, a life-changing amount of money, what is the very first thing you would buy to prove to the world that you finally made it?
And the Millionaire Mind's answer is
Nothing. You buy absolutely nothing to prove it to anyone. Because true wealth isn't a loud status symbol you wear on your wrist or park in your driveway to impress strangers at a stoplight. True wealth is the invisible, quiet freedom of knowing you completely control your own life, rather than letting debt, social pressure, and financial institutions control you. It's the profound, unshakable confidence of the balance sheet.
beautifully said.
Let me know your answer in the comments. Considering everything we just talked about, what does true financial freedom look like to you? I genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Is it a paid-off, modest house where you never have to worry about a mortgage again? Is it the ability to change careers or start a business without the paralyzing fear of going broke? Let us know down below. If you enjoyed this podcast summary, make sure to like the video. We'll be bringing you many more such powerful summaries, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss them. If you want to buy this book, check out the link in the description. Thank you so much for your valuable time. We truly appreciate it. We'll see you again with another amazing summary. Until then, keep rising from zero and building your own journey.